Shalom Aleichem. It's almost Pesach, and it's Parshas Vayikra. We're going to try to connect the two a little bit. What is a Seder? What the Seder really means, and a love story in names. Just a few days ago, I drove to New York to do a matzah bakery, to do a few matzah bakeries in my old stomping grounds. Did one in Chelsea and one in the Upper West Side. A few hours into my drive, my friend Daniel calls me and we're chatting, and I tell him I'm on my way to New York. He says, let's try to meet up. Now Daniel's a real techie, he's a big help in every way, in many ways, and he needed something at B&H Photo. It's a wild story, and he knows that I like to get things at B&H Photo too, and I actually need a new gimbal, a selfie stick that's a mechanical selfie stick that I'm holding right now. I need a new one for this running commentary. So we made up that he'll go to B&H Photo. I didn't have the time to meet with him at B&H Photo because I was running late for the matzah bakery. So he'll go there, get what I need, and I'll call him with a credit card. And that's what happened. B&H, parenthetically, is a famous electronics store in New York run by Hasidic Jews. But it's more than a store. It's like a tourist attraction. The whole ceiling is a big conveyor train system that zooms the item that you pick from the shelf. You don't take it with you, you just choose it. And it gets to the cashier before you can get there. So I told him I'd love to meet him there, but I don't have time. So he decided that he's going to go there, he's going to pick it out, which he did, and I'll pay. And that's what happened. So he goes and he gets the stuff, he calls me back, and in order to pay with a credit card, I had to pay online. So I had to stop the car, and I'm just following the GPS to get to the Chabad at Chelsea at the time. And I put on this video, just parenthetically, this is my ADD over here. There's a beautiful turkey vulture. Can you see it? I don't know. Well, it was here. Thought it was a hawk, but it's a turkey vulture. Anyway, so I pull over the car. I'm following the GPS to go to Chelsea, and I pull over the car to take out my credit card. Meanwhile, we're on video chat, and I park, I stop. I had already entered the city a little bit. I look up. I kid you not. I was right in front of B&H Photo. Literally. Right there. That's where I stopped. Could not believe it. This happened like 3 days ago. I turned around the camera. I said, Daniel, look. He says, what are you doing here? Unbelievable. So I actually parked the car, I ran inside, gave him a hug, and paid in person. Didn't have to do the purchase online, and I'm using the selfie stick right now in the gimbal and the new microphone that I just got, that Daniel picked out for me and I got. Now, Daniel told me that day he was feeling a bit down. He called me, say hello. I hope it's okay, Daniel. And he prayed for some connection for something. And he called me, and then guess what? God orchestrated for me to show up there. You can't make up this stuff. It happened. There's choreography to the world. There's a hidden beauty in Seder. The word Seder means order. This is like a wink from God, from above, telling us the world is not a jungle. You're not alone. You're being guided. You're being directed. We are in a divine theme park. And Hashem arranges moments like this. And it makes you feel like it's like a hug from heaven. Literally. It happens quite frequently, I must say. But when it happens, and sometimes with more intensity, you feel like you're connected to something great and greater, and that something great, which we call God, is looking after you. So, that's part of the idea of what we're going to talk about now is Seder. Seder means order. There's a rhyme and reason. We have many rituals in Judaism. We have Kol Nidre. We have Rosh Hashanah. We have Simchas Torah. But this one, the Seder night, which is the least organized of them all, is called Seder. Why? Why is it called Seder? So, there are many answers to this question. The most common one is that there are 15 steps of the Seder that we all follow, and there's an organization in the numbers and the names. We got Kadesh, Urchat, Karpas, Yachat. But the Maharal of Prague says something deeper. He says it's telling us that there is a Seder in the world. There's a divine order in the world. And sometimes we see it, and sometimes we don't. But there's always Seder. There's always order. Seder means order. It's always there. Divine choreography. A hidden hand that's guiding the world. And you can imagine yourself, or myself. You're walking into a stage play, and you walk into the second act. You're not sure who's the villain, what's the plot, but there's a script. It exists. And the end is already written. You know there's a script, you know there's a plot. And the Maharal of Prague, great Kabbalist from a few hundred years ago, said that the world, the whole world, are scenes in a big, beautiful script. Some of the scripts are painful, some are bewildering, some are beautiful. But when you zoom out, it all works. And there's the bird again. I hope you get it. Oh man, it's over there. It's a big turkey vulture. I don't see them up close. Usually they're so high in the sky. But anyway, so this is the message of the Seder. B&H photo. I show up. Wasn't planning on it. Wasn't on my radar. But it was in my GPS. I didn't even know about it. And I showed up because I needed something there. And Daniel needed to meet me at the time. And he told me that. So when life seems random or chaotic or upside down, there's always a structure with precision, with purpose. There's a plan. And when we look at our history, we see that also. Says the Maharal, that we were a tiny slave nation that didn't have much chance, but we survived and we thrived throughout, while the mighty empires who try to crush us, they collapsed. And we see these stories, we know these stories, and we know that Hashem is the loving hand who's behind it all. Moving on. The Seder also, if you look at the word Seder, Samach, Daled, Resh. It's the same letters as Pardes, which means orchard, literally orchard, without the pay. So Pardes is an orchard, and it's a model for all the different the varying levels of the richness of understanding the Torah. So the pshat, the pay for Pardes, is the simple meaning. The resh, the remez, is the hints and allusions, a little deeper. Drush is interpretation and exposition. And so the samach is the mystical layer. So there's an orchard of Torah that we all study, and we all enter into the orchard. But on Pesach, we remove the pay from Pardes, from that orchard, and we keep the Seder. Seder means dig deeper. Sod, Drush, and Remez. If you know Hebrew, you'll understand what we're saying. On this night of Pesach, we don't just talk about what happened in Egypt, but we go into the why it happened and how is it relevant to us and our journey. Moving on. The name itself, Pesach. The word Pesach means to skip over, to pass over. It means God, we call it Pesach because God passed over the Jewish homes during the final plague where he killed the Egyptian firstborn. And we call it Pesach. But if you look a little deeper, you see that in the Torah, it's called Chag HaMatzot. In the Torah, it doesn't use the word Pesach for the name of the holiday. They call it Chag HaMatzot, the holiday of matzot. So God in the Torah calls it the holiday of matzot. We, the Jewish people, call it the holiday of Pesach. Why? Why the difference? The Lubavitcher Rebbe brings a beautiful message, an idea. He says it's a mutual love story, like a couple in love exchanging praises or gifts. God calls it Chag HaMatzot, the holiday of matzot, to highlight that we, Jewish people, left the safety. It wasn't really great over there, but we left a home and followed God into Egypt. Followed God into the desert. Try that again. We, the Jewish people, rewind. God calls it Chag HaMatzot, the holiday of matzot, highlighting our love for God. We, the Jewish people, left Egypt with only crackers on our back, just matzot, just crunchy, not so good tasting crackers, nothing but matzot. So God says, wow, you went with me with just the matzah. I'm calling it the holiday of matzos because I want to remember you connecting with me in this meaningful way and trusting me. But the Jewish people, we say Chag HaPesach because we are emphasizing our admiration and love and relationship with God. And we're saying, God, thank you for passing over the Jewish homes. And this is somewhat, that's why the exchange of the names. We call it Chag Pesach, emphasizing God's greatness. He calls it Chag HaMatzot, emphasizing our greatness. The Rebbe talks about this matzah and says that matzah is also a humble food. The difference between matzah and bread is not necessarily in the ingredients. They're both made of flour and water. I've been doing that now for the last few weeks. And for the next few weeks, I'm making matzah with so many people. Same ingredients, it's just flour and water. But bread is puffed up, represents arrogance. And matzah is flat, represents humility, humble. And the same thing is with the first word in this week's Torah portion, Vayikra. Vayikra, the word ends with an aleph, but it's a small aleph, uncharacteristically small. And it's weird, strange, because all the other letters are big and the aleph is small. And the Medrash says, and the Rebbe talks about this a lot, that it's written small because God called to Moshe. It says, Vayikra el Moshe, God called to Moshe. And Moshe said, who am I for you to be called? Who am I? I'm not worthy of being called by God himself. He didn't want to elevate himself like that. And the Rebbe says this was Moshe's humility, because true greatness is found in humility. Like in Pesach, the simple food, the simplest food, the matzah, just flour and water becomes the holiest. So too, Moshe, when he wrote the word Vayikra, he put a small aleph there, representing his humility. And that's the connection between our story, our Pesach story, and the Torah portion. So, what we learned so far, that life isn't a jungle, it's a divine theme park. There are rides, but there's somebody there who has the controls, and we trust the controls. We trust that God is running the show. We never were alone, we never will be alone. We're part of something eternal, and we're all leaving Egypt. And Egypt are the boundaries, the psychological boundaries that we have in our minds and hearts. So we go on Pesach from chaos to clarity, from matzah to majesty, from fear to faith. And that's what a Seder is about. I wish you all Chag Kasher V'Sameach. And one reminder that the Rebbe requested and urged and begged for us all to make sure that every Jew in the world has matzah for the Pesach Seder. No Jew shall be left behind. Every Jew. If you know somebody that might not have the real deal shmur matzah. We're talking about the handmade, hand-baked, round matzah that's fairly tasteless. Sometimes it tastes as good as the box it's in, but that's the bread of faith. When we eat it on Pesach, we ingest faith. And when we eat it on the second night of Pesach, it's the bread of healing. We ingest healing. So it's a win-win. Real matzah for the first and second night of Seder. After that, you don't really have to eat matzah. You just have to stay away from chametz. I have no idea where I am. It's a new park. Second time I'm here. Okay, I think I'm going that way. That's the story for today. God bless you all. And share. Have a great Pesach.